Hey there, Zoners. It's me, Buck Wonder, and today on Classic Couch Twilight Zone Edition, we bring you our breakdown and banter about Season 1, Episode 8, titled Time Enough at Last. So stay tuned after the recap as Doc and I discuss the actors in the episode, our personal casting call if we filmed it today, symbolism, influences, our ratings, and so much more as we talk about one of the most iconic characters in Twilight Zone history, Henry Bemis. So be like Henry and put on your glasses so you can find that like, notification, and subscribe buttons and hit them before Mrs. Bemis catches you. That would help us out a lot and we appreciate you. Let's get into it. Time enough at last. We start our journey at a bank with a small man with thick glasses by the name of Henry Bemis that's working the window. We see that Henry is hiding the fact that he is reading a book while handing out cash. He even tells the bank customer about the book he's reading. And of course, since he's distracted, he miscounts the money that he gives back to the customer and even gets her name wrong because Mr. Bemis could care less about anything but his book. The boss notices him just reading the book and calls him into his office. The boss lectures him about not being a good worker and tells him that he's just a reader and ridicules him for going down to the vault during his lunches just to read. The boss then threatens to fire him if he doesn't forget about reading and just do his job. Oh, imagine that. Henry tells the boss that his wife doesn't let him read when he gets home, so he tries to do it at work because she takes away all his reading material. His boss agrees with his wife and tells him she is right for doing this terrible thing to Mr. Bemis. The boss dismisses him and Mr. Bemis heads back and even tries to grab a magazine to read on his way out. Henry is now home and is summoned by his wife. Of course, she catches him reading and snatches the paper away. She ridicules him about reading. Henry jabs back the only way he can and picks on her grammar. She tells Henry that they are heading over to play cards with friends. So Bemis goes and finds his hidden book that he has had stashed away from that crazy wife of his. He opens the door and she is creepily standing there like she's a Jason Voorhees from 1960. And she finds his book of modern poetry, which he was hiding. She comes in and sits on the couch with Henry as he speaks passionately about his favorite authors to her. He noticed that she scribbled out all the words in his book while she sits there smiling. She then takes the book from him and rips it up and throws it on the floor. What a bitch. He collects the pages and stands up and questions why. Why would she do this? And just ridicules him again and just walks away. Henry is at work the next day at the bank, takes his lunch break with a book in hand and a packed lunch. I hope his wife didn't pack him this lunch because I would not eat it if I was Henry. Henry enters the bank vault, closes the door. Henry sits in the vault reading his book and all of a sudden hears a huge explosion. Henry stumbles around a little bit and heads out the door to find total destruction outside. Henry then realizes he's the only one around and possibly the only one alive because he was down in the vault. But he's not quite sure if he wants to be alive in this situation. He starts to enjoy his new surroundings without people, even makes himself a candlelight dinner, smokes a cigarette, and heads off to his makeshift bedroom. Henry wakes up the next morning, sits in a car, wanders around, and finds a sporting goods store where he finds a gun. Henry sits down and contemplates ending it all because there's nothing for him to do here. Right before that moment happens, he looks up to see a public library. Henry heads over excitedly and climbs the stairs and strikes gold in the form of books. Henry excitedly organizes all these books and sits down to read them when suddenly his glasses fall off his face and Henry barely can find them because he can't see anything at all without his glasses. He feels for them and picks them up and realizes they are broken. Then he leaves us with this.
That's not fair at all. There was time now. There was all the time I needed. That's not fair. That's not fair.
And there it is, Doc. He's reading. He's into this right now.
Oh.
He's reading, Doc, where we are on.
David Copperfield. Murderstone is such Henry Bemis is so right. It's such a beautifully crafted name.
Only,
Listen to it. Murderstone. I can't say it as well as Burgess Meredith.
This is true. Well, you can't say anything as well as Burgess Meredith. You know how I feel about Burgess Meredith. Just so you know,
Yes.
he's right there. It's my man, Mickey. But time enough at last. And it's time enough at last that we start talking about this. Doc, you've been really excited. I know.
You know.
This episode. I know this. I know this. I know this. Anything before we get into it that you want to say right off the bat?
I just am really excited, as always. You know, I get all geeked up over these ones and these special ones, and Time Enough at Last is certainly a special episode. We're not even 10 in yet, and we've had at least 2 or 3 special episodes.
Yeah, no, well, I know. Well, that's the Twilight Zone, right? We're going to find something in everything. So for everybody out there that's first time joining us, or maybe whatever, your second, third, fourth, whatever it is, hopefully it's been a lot.
Hopefully, fifth.
Yeah, but we do go over, we do a lot of fun things here before you think, what are they going to talk about? We're going to talk about the actors in there. Doc's going to tell us about the actors that were actually in this episode. We're going to do our casting call, which we think is a lot of fun, where who we would put in nowadays for these parts in the Twilight Zone, which is a very hard thing to do. We do symbolism, we do influences, sometimes we do best scenes, we do everything, and then we give our ratings. And today we're going to do a couple other things that I think we're going to introduce Doc, and I think that will be, we got somebody coming along. We have a special guest, my boy Nick, who's an actor. He acts actually with me right now. So he's an actor. He's going to give his, I guess, opinions about things, and he's young. And I think that's a good Doc. Yeah, right? We're going to bring a younger person in to talk about the first time they watched this Twilight Zone. They know nothing about it. So we're bringing the Generation Z, I guess, in to talk about this. So I think that'd be interesting. And Doc, we've been introducing this a little bit. We're going to talk about Reddit a little bit. What you go around there, you get the finger on the pulse, like I always say, of what's going on, because people like to talk about this stuff. So, Doc, we always started out with, tell us about the actors.
Let us delve into the realm of these performers, exploring their talents and unraveling their intricacies on this stage of shadows and light.
Let's talk about those actors, and finally we get into your guy, my guy, everybody's guy, Burgess Meredith. And Henry Bemis, what a character. But let's talk about Burgess Meredith himself. His first role was in 1935's The Scoundrel. His last role was in 1995 in Grumpier Old Men.
Why don't you come to my place? I'll show you my beefy bologna. Huh? No? How would you like my bony macaroni? Or my fatty Alfredo? Or my hard salami? I got them all.
Yes. Not to confuse with Grumpy Old Men. So just 1935 to 1995. I can't count that high, but I know that's he acted for a really long time. And of course he was Mickey in all the Rocky movies. Everybody knows that. He was also in the classic of Mice and Men.
Hey, Slim, get this. Get out from under that wheel.
He won't drop it until I tell him, unless the supper bell rings.
Which I'm going to reference in the fun facts.
I didn't know that. Doc. I did not know that. I really didn't. I know I've seen that movie.
Well, it was the original. I think it was 1939.
Yeah, no, I've seen the black and white old.
He was George.
No,
I'm sorry. He was Lenny.
Lenny. I was going to say he wasn't George.
Hey, George, what are we going to do now, George? Well, he was. We also know him from the Penguin and Batman.
Should be amusing.
He worked with Rod Serling at least 2 other times in 2 episodes of The Night Gallery. I had some time over the weekend, and I watched him in a show that Rod Serling wrote, an actual movie called The Man, starring James Earl Jones as the first African American president of the United States. And Burgess Meredith and Martin Balsam were in it. So he worked with 2 Twilight Zone actors in that. Check out this. This got my attention, and I had to watch the movie because of his name. He was in the 1971 movie called Clay Pigeon. His name, Freedom Lovelace. That's just a badass name.
Wow. It's right there with Linda Lovelace.
Stop it. Get some help.
Well, let's talk about the lovely character that was Mrs. Bemis. And boy, am I going to get into her a little
fantastic.
later on. Jacqueline DeWitt.
Yeah.
She had quite the acting career, too. Her first role was in 1943, The Leopard Man, and her last role was in 1970's The Name of the Game. The woman has 76 acting credits to her name. You know what? She was in It Happened at the World's Fair with our guy Elvis. Yeah.
He's some kind of nut. Be careful, lady. So long.
Yeah, I couldn't get a Hitchcock one in, but I got Elvis in.
Elvis.
It all gets back to our first episode, Buck, when we talked about all those old TV shows. She was in Wagon Train, of course. And I have to highlight Vaughn Taylor, who played the banker. Did you know he was in 5 episodes of Twilight Zone?
No, I did not
so
even.
He is definitely going in our Twilight Zone Hall of Fame, and he was in an episode of the Hitchcock Hour. And your favorite, he was in a Maud.
No, and then came Maud. I'll sing the whole song.
Please do.
If we get 5 comments about Maud, I will sing the song. All right, I'm going to put that out there.
Do it. That's great.
I will sing the song.
Pretty simple.
Then came Maud. Song. if no one wants to, well, no, you should want to hear that because it'd be fantastic. You know what? That's funny because we do. That's a compiler, and we've talked about this Hall of Fame thing, Doc. Right? He's a compiler. He's the Cal Ripken, maybe of Twilight Zones, and I don't know. Maybe he's done a great job. Not that he was bad in this or anything, but 5 episodes. I think he deserves a good nod for a compiler.
I think so. I think he gets at least a nomination.
Yes.
Well, this is one of my favorite parts. Who's playing Henry? If you're recasting this today,
Ready with the shot, Mr. DeMille. All right.
Well, I'm going to go to this. I mentioned it if you watched a couple episodes ago, and this person I was keeping in my pocket, but I think I have to go with him here. And that's William H. Macy.
Can't argue.
How good would he be? He plays that part. I mean, if we remember him in a ton of movies where he plays that like beaten down guy sometimes. And shows
has the hang dog expression.
Yes. I'm going to go with William H. Macy. I think he would kill this part. I really do.
Right. That's the first time you've been right. I confuse the two, and I don't care. Hey. Hey! I love you. I love you, and I'm sick. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm getting corrective oral surgery tomorrow for my teeth.
So I'm going to William H. Macy. It's the only one I did, Doc. I was going to go with the wife. I just thought it was such a small part. And then I went back and forth with, and I'll just tell everybody out there, I went back and forth with the part of being like, maybe I like a Jennifer Aniston, right? Who people kind of love, hate,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And though she's a charming woman and everything like that. But
Such
I feel like,
role.
yeah, or just throw some, Lady Gaga or something that some people like to not like for some reason, right? Something like that, but I didn't go there, so I'm not going to go into it too much. That's just something that crossed my mind. But William H. Macy, I'm going William H. Macy. I think he would be really good at this. I waited for him, and I said I couldn't put him in anything else besides Bemis. There he is, William H. Macy.
Hey, that is an excellent poll. And I was going back and forth on this up until taping. I had to get part of Henry Bemis' smaller character, actual small in height character. I had a few larger, tall guys, but who I like, I haven't seen him a lot recently, but Steve Zahn.
I'm a big fan of his, actually. It's odd,
So
but
am
I am.
I. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
That
Steve
thing you
Zahn
do, perfect.
Steve Zahn can do pretty much anything, and his facial expressions.
Oh, bite me!
Blow me!
Skank!
Eunuch!
Stealer! A big friend!
Are amazing. And that's what part Henry Bemis with his eyes getting all big behind those Coke bottle
That's
glasses.
cool. That's a cool pull. That's a cool pull. I like that.
Yeah, and I think he could really just be buried in that book. And again, I think the actor has to be small, height, and nature because that's just his character. And I think Zahn would have fun with the role.
The only thing I'll say about that is, do we really know how big he is? Because he's really not on the side of anybody ever standing up.
No, no. Just knowing Burgess Meredith, but I believe, it's the bookish. I'm bookish, but I'm 6'2". I don't fit that stereotype.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, and that's a good one. I would say I had him in my pocket. I wish I did, because I really like him. He's so.
I think he's because
so
he was he can play the boyfriend. He can play the bad guy. He can play the cop. He can really do anything. He can play Henry Bemis.
He's got that squeak in his voice that I kind of have sometimes, like, "Oh, come on!" I mean,
yeah,
he
does.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah. Wow,
Cool.
that's good. That's a cool one. That's a really cool.
And I did cast his wife, and we haven't seen her in much, or I haven't seen her in a lot recently. But of course, I'm not watching much in 2024. Leah Remy.
Okay. Scientology. Just hold on. Scientology's on the phone right now. They're mad about that show right there. Get back to them real quick.
I think she's perfected the shrill, the just wife that.
Well, she's got that Long Island kind of like douchey.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I'm a Leah Remy fan from Saved by the Bell.
Excuse me. Would you like to share your comment?
Let's just put it that way. That's she was the cool chick then. That's all I'm saying. That's where I'm going.
Oh.
Leah, she could be the.
And Steve's on. It could work. And again, this is who we would want to cast. We're not asking who Hollywood would cast. It's just who would cast.
Yeah,
what kind of fun stuff. And Buck and I have a lot of fun doing this, obviously.
Yes, because we did go back and forth about that, because Doc was saying how some people are like, no one can do it. And I actually heard that personally. I had someone come up to me that watches our show and say, how do you do that? Because there's no one now that could pull a 25-minute movie. These actors, you're going to have to.
Absolutely.
Yes, you have a point. We're just saying we're forced to do it.
It's a conversation point. Yeah, and we're not experts on the show. We're just having fun with it. And that's exactly right, Buck.
Absolutely. All right. So anybody else there? We have nobody else. So that's good. I love it. That's a really cool poll. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy it.
Yeah, and
we don't talk about this before.
We don't. I always like yours. It's we pull things out of the different areas of our brains. It's great. So I think I'm ready. Fun facts for this episode.
Yes. Let's go into fun facts. Let's do it, Doc.
Fun fact. I was rejected from Scientology, so.
All right. Dates of filming. And this is a whole other 3 days. They filmed this in 3 days. August 3rd, 4th, and 5th in 1959. And they flipped it really quick. November 19th, 1959 is when it aired.
Ooh.
3 freaking days they filmed this classic episode.
The confidence in Burgess Meredith at that point.
Well, the confidence, and they probably didn't have a lot of money for reshoots. It's like, all right, we got this in the can. The only episode to earn a Directors Guild nomination for the director John Brown. This episode also won the 1960 Hugo Award for the Best Dramatic Presentation. This was not the screenplay was Rod Serling. However, it wasn't actually written by Rod Serling. It was based on a 6-page short story by a woman by the name of Lynn Venable. And it was published in a magazine called If. And we saw it. There were not we, but the Twilight Zone folks saw it, and they wanted to make a teleplay of it, as Rod Serling did.
Wow,
which is pretty wild. So if you, it's that she is given a credit. She's given a credit in the title card. She's given a credit, obviously, on the IMDb page. And Burgess Meredith. How many times we're going to say his name? He was given, but check this out. So he was given a fake mustache and thick glasses to give him that bookworm look.
Over the top thick too.
It's just not right. It's really eerie here.
One thing that I picked up, but I didn't realize how unique it was. I know you watched it recently too, but this is one of only 4 times where Rod Serling has a mid-episode narration.
One of my notes. Excuse me. One of my notes. Mid narration. Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. And according to multiple sources, this was Serling's personal favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, of that he wrote. Again, he did.
All right, I'm gonna get into this now because I can see that, because when we watch it, you notice that I laughed because you can see the backdrop is obviously like a painted backdrop. Like if he went 2 feet forward at one point, Burgess Meredith, he was gonna walk into the set, and you knew that. But for that time, what they did, how they moved everything, and how they told the story. And the more we dissect this, Doc, and knowing more about Rod Serling now, thanks to you and a lot of the people out there, like Rod Serling's daughter put out the thing about him with PTSD and everything. And the more I'm learning about him, a lot of these things show a lot. Let's face it. There's something we'll probably go into, I'm sure, even more. But this apocalyptic scene,
isolation
is a big one with him, obviously.
Where is everybody?
Exactly. And then we're like, what, 6 in? And he's done this a few times. And here's a man with PTSD from World War II. Correct? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is something here. And I can see why he held this close to the vest. And obviously he took it. And once again, I'll say it, and whatever. I'm not sitting here, I guess people would say ball washing Rod Serling. but I way ahead of his time in a sense of even things of, once again, a woman, that wrote the original. We talked about a couple things about things he's done that broke barriers.
Yes.
Well, he really took everything there. He was a Jewish man, doing a Christmas thing. Like, he was so well-rounded in everything.
Yeah. And all his, there's so many.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on the man alone, but just
we will.
He said that, it's a lot easier to have a Martian talk about things that a Republican or Democrat would talk about. And he puts those things into his episodes, into his show, that, hey, we'll have a Martian talk about race issues, which he fought so passionately for.
Yeah, because he's a Martian. You have a different,
but you couldn't have that.
No, you can't have one because it's going to be slighted. But you have a Martian,
talk about what's happening in the United States.
What a genius! What a genius!
Yeah.
What a good person! Yeah. Man, we lost him way too soon. Yeah.
Damn, don't smoke, kids.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that nicotine, terrible.
Well, we have fun facts as always. You know, I could go on and on.
Yeah, that's interesting though. 3 days. Think about that. Let's get back to that real quick before we go on to the next one. 3
Yeah.
days. Turn around. And this isn't digital. This is film. They're on film. 3 days.
3 days. You
Wow.
probably do like a scene in 3 days these days,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Got to
Yeah.
get the lighting and then all the CGI.
Once you
and
move, the lighting has got to go over there. I mean, there's times they say a page a day sometimes. You know,
Wow.
it's when it's a lot. Page a day. Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
think I know a lot of it had to do with budgets, and I think Twilight Zone was not the only show back then, but just, hey, you have X amount of dollars, don't go over it.
Well, you've seen it. You've seen the budgets on there. What
Yeah.
the thing? I mean, you're talking guys are getting paid. You know, these people were getting paid. Burgess Meredith probably got paid. I don't know. It's probably in the book somewhere. Maybe we'll look it up. But you know, he probably got like $500 for that. Which is, you know, imagine that. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be an old town
It's
trolley. But yeah. All right. So those are the fun facts. Doc, always fun to hear those. Wow. Amazing.
I have more. Maybe we'll do a just a subscribers only more fun facts for this episode.
Yeah,
Because
we're gonna go through them all and do that because Doc is just chomping at the bit, and I have to put a muzzle on him because we're gonna go like 5 hours of Doc.
we have other things to talk about, Doc. So
we do. All right, so what do you say? Let's go into now, Doc. What do you think about symbolism?
yeah, absolutely.
Symbolism is just too delicious.
Rod Serling knew people, and he knew our biggest fear is being alone. And he did it here as well. Even a man, but what's the use of having all these books if you can't share anything with them, with people about, you know, it's great. You can go in this world and everything like that. But if you can't talk about it with somebody or bang something off them, I mean, it's us doing this show. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If we can't talk to people on Twilight Zone, it's cool that we can watch it. It entertains us for, 25 minutes. But then afterwards, what's the use?
It's almost why we started what we're doing.
Exactly. Because we're exactly those people. Lonely, pathetic, middle-aged men. Yes.
Henry Bemis, yeah. Both glasses.
With glasses. Both of us. Yeah. That sounded sad. But no, but that's
all my
obviously
books in my background.
It's all what it is. Yes. Don't feel too bad for us. We're okay, guys. Don't need us call any hotlines or anything like that. Maybe for Doc.
Well, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know about Buck. He's wearing his glasses today, so
I know.
Although I appreciate it for this episode. So
yeah.
That symbolism is not lost on me.
Yeah, don't call any hotlines for me. If you do, it's going to be a 900 number. You know what I mean?
You serious?
Anyway.
Well, I mean, we got it's like I said, a lot of the symbolism is very handed to us. We be careful what you wish for. Addiction. I mean, I think that was Henry addicted to escapism almost. Really, was he addicted to reading? Did he escape because? And we've got to talk about his wife, and I think we're going to talk about her right now. She may be the most evil character in the entire series.
I know. Everybody out there, we're gonna do like the top 5 worst wives.
Bobbitt severed her husband John's penis with a kitchen knife on June 23rd, 1993.
And
what she did to his books, what the hell was the point of that? I mean, there was absolutely no reason. And this has nothing to do with symbolism. This is just Doc ranting. Because he was so, oh my gosh, you want me to read you poetry? And he picks it up and she's a witch.
Yeah, that is like pure, like, I mean, it's the worst thing you can do to a man like him, right? I mean,
right. But this to get back to point. was Henry 100% pure? I mean, was his getting into reading? I mean, he was kind of an incompetent employee. Was he a good husband? Who knows? Maybe he was so buried in the book so much. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but
I think that's the representation they were going for. I really do. I think that's what they were making you read into, was that all you care about are these books. I'm going to hurt you by taking away these books because you've hurt me, and I'm really playing her. I'm really fending for her at this point, but I think that's what they tried to represent. I do.
I think
and we think like
a lesson is all things in moderation. I think as well.
Well, and nowadays we have so many things that are so much worse than reading, right? Like he could have been doing so many worse things than
Well, and
reading.
that's just it. Yeah, that was 1959, and well, I'll get to it when we talk about our Reddit rants. But yeah, that's a lot of people are saying that could be, if you know someone who's just constantly on social media, constantly on their phone, we see that we see that very frequently today.
It's a good point. It's a good point. It's probably the same thing. That's what I mean. It's probably the same thing.
And as opposed to a nuclear bomb going off, all they need is the power to go out or to lose an internet connection, and their whole world is shattered.
Exactly. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Anything else for your symbolism, Doc?
No, we covered it and then some. But I think definitely be careful what you wish for was one of the main themes.
All right. I've heard this a few times from you, Doc. The be careful what you wish for. I feel like that's happened a few times already.
Yeah, we saw it with Escape Clause, I believe.
Yep, absolutely. So let's go with influences.
They're very easily influenced.
Doc, I know you're chomping at the bit for this one, so I'll let you start.
There's so many. There are so many. I mean, we could go the easy route and go maybe The Martian with Matt Damon. There's been a lot of parodies to this. I don't know if you remember the Drew Carey show. They did an episode.
Of course I do. What do you think, 12?
They did an episode in 1999 called Y2K. And there was a bomb going to go off.
I don't see her anymore. She waits till I'm at work, then she comes over to my house and just works on the bomb shelter.
Or we didn't know it was going to happen. It was December 31st, 1999, and Drew Carey was there, and he had locked himself away, and he was okay if everything was going to collapse, because he had all of the Playboy magazines he could. And then,
well,
he looked down, and his glasses broke.
Oh, that's a big influence. Then okay, all right.
And then he said that it's not fair. It's not fair. I mean, it's I had to bring some levity here.
Well, and obviously, it totally stole that from that. I mean, simple concept, but yeah. I mean, that's good. That's good. That definitely is one. I went right away with I Am Legend. I think that's an easy one. I think we've used that in the first one too. Being alone and like, oh, I have all this. I can do this. I can hit golf balls off the battleship in New York and all that other stuff. But what do you really have? I mean, obviously he had other things that were chasing him and stuff like that. But yeah, it's almost like that. What do you have when you're alone? You have access to everything, but what fun is that? And there's nobody to share it with. I mean, it'd be fun for a few minutes, a few days, weeks, maybe.
Yeah, but then you get lonely.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's the use of doing something cool if you can't tell somebody you did it cool? I mean, it sounds really pompous to say that, but it's kind of sharing stories is like half our life, right? Is what you did to be able to share it with somebody. And if you don't
have all the money in the world, but who are you going to share it with?
Yeah.
Who are you going to talk about it with? You could read the best book in the world. You're not going to have a platform. You're not going to talk to anybody about it. Oh, I just read all of Charles Dickens' works. Okay, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the time, it's fun. It's like riding a roller coaster, right? You go on the roller coaster and you're enjoying it because it gives you whatever, blah, 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 blah. But, and then it's done. Then it's done.
Sure.
The experience is there. You can kind of remember it and smile. But if you don't have, like, I don't know, stories are, that's why we have books. That's why we have TV shows. Stories are what we want to share.
That's why we have this platform.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you should share. That's how I look at it. It's like it's like chlamydia with me.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I'm just kidding. Everybody out there that might be scared right now.
No, just be safe.
Yeah, that's true. Be safe, everybody. And all right. So, what any other influences there? I mean, that's a great one, Doc, that you just pulled. But you said there's so many. I mean, we could go on all day, I'm sure. But isolation and everything like that.
There are, and again, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're just here to share our thoughts.
No, yes, yeah. So quickly, let's do best scene.
He compiled all the best boner scenes, I guess.
My favorite scene, Doc. I'll just start out with it. Like, I mean, to me, this is weird because the whole thing's like one long scene, right? Kind of in my mind. I mean, I don't know. I guess
it's like another play. It's almost a very almost like a stage production.
Well, yeah, and like we go over all the time, and I'll reiterate it that's the coolest part about old stuff. It's like watching a play, and I think we lose that in a lot of movies now with every cut and everything. You know, the stage when people are just running off and doing their thing for monologues at a time, and you're just moving the camera. It's not cut here, cut there, cut there. There's something beautiful about it. But I mean, obviously, I think you hit on it when the wife. I mean, you could go either way. I mean, it's so poignant when the wife marks out the books, and we just know right there where he's at. And I think that's great. I would say when he gets to the gun, there's so many little good things in here, little nuggets of little tiny scenes. But I really think the whole thing hits home when the wife does that, and that's my favorite scene. Is that? Yeah. I mean, it's terrible, but it's my. I think
it's hey
poignant.
That's you, Buck. I thought you were going to say when the wife died. It was your favorite scene.
Yeah. Well.
I like the pure joy of when he found the library and when he was stacking the books, like this is for next year and the year after that, and just the pure joy. And as a reader, as someone who likes to read, who never has enough time to read all the books that they want, it's that was my favorite scene. And in an alternative reality, when we get to doing our what happens next, I'm really hoping that Henry Bemis finds just a store that sells eyeglasses and he can finish reading.
Oh, you jumped ahead. You jumped ahead because we always do that when we do our recap. That's a fun thing I think we do is we do the ending that we would write after the cameras stop. But yeah, and if everybody out there, Doc, when he's not joking, when he says he reads a lot of books, Doc, real quick, how many books did you read last year? I saw it. Sarah showed me the list of books. Well, how many? Like 100 books?
I think it was like 78, something like that. I didn't meet 80. I wanted to get 80.
It takes three things to be a nerd. You have to be smart, socially awkward, and obsessed. All three of those things. You're just laughing at the chart, sir.
But thank you. Buck just sent me in the mail. No note, no nothing. I just got a box from Amazon, and it was the biography of Gig Young, who we all know from Walking Distance.
Yeah.
And I think the note in there would have said, "Get to work, Buck. Get to work."
Yeah. Or it would have said, like you said to me, it would have said $2 from Buck. Like you
get to work, Doc. We're gonna do a show about Gig Young.
Yeah, it was kind of and plus,
no, thank you.
Tell me. No worries. Of course,
I'm a reader.
Yeah, and he's going to tell me what it's about because I can't read, and that'll be easy that way. It'd be much easier if he tells me about Gig Young, but that's interesting, and I'm excited to to hear about it and also do a show about it, because the more I learn about Gig Young, the murder Academy Award winning actor, where I feel like nobody knows about him. So
Not a lot of people, and yeah, we've got
right.
that. Yeah, we actually are. We're planning something for Gig Young, but that's a whole other story for another day. And we might do Benny Hill through this.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Yeah. Cue the Benny
All
Hill.
right.
All right. So
yeah, we are the
yeah, so
clowns,
I want to bring on. I'm going to bring on a special guest today. He works with me. He's an actor. He's a talented guy. Don't tell him I said that, even though he can hear me right now because he's on the side of me. And he's going to come in as a perspective of a younger person. I feel like everybody should be interested about this because I am. How younger people watch it now. He watched the show in my place right before I went. Never watched it before. Doesn't know much about the Twilight Zone. Knows we do a show. And we're gonna just drill him about things about it real quick. And I think it'll be interesting. So without further ado, I will introduce, he's gonna come pull up a chair on the side of me. The magic of whatever. Maybe we'll just edit to you over here at this point. Nick.
All right. Hi, how's it going today?
Yes.
All right.
Real close. It's all right. Eat the mic. It's fine.
All right.
Glad to have you on. So this is your first time watching Time Enough at Last?
Yes, it is. I've never seen any episode of The Twilight Zone before. I did watch 2 of your episodes previously, and quite honestly, I think it's so far ahead of its time for being made in the 50s.
Yeah. Nick said this. Nick said out loud, he was like, wow, this is ahead of its time. Like he doesn't, I mean, and like I said, I'm not going to keep interrupting you, Nick. I'm sorry.
No,
but taking it all in, it's interesting, I think, in a natural reaction being like, oh, wow, because you got to put yourself in that mindset of Nick. So go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
So before you rudely interrupted me, Buck, but I think it's far ahead of its time. There's so much symbolism that somebody who doesn't really watch movies that take place in the 50s or TV shows, let alone for that matter, I think there's so much symbolism that gets placed right in your face, and that doesn't happen with modern movies. It really doesn't. Like you said with the glasses. Now, to skip back to, let's just say, what was it? The symbolism section. I thought the glasses were a big hint at how he sees the world through his own lens, if that makes any kind of sense.
Makes perfect sense.
He sees the world because I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this here. He saw the world through a more creative and colorful world than most of the other people did, because he worked in this bank. He works in this bank, and most people who worked in banks see the world as very gray and lifeless. It's just business, money. No.
Interesting.
He actually had that creative spark to him that he wanted to explore. He wanted to branch out from that, but
I like that.
I know, right?
And he was actually the only character. He was the only one. Think about it. The wife we discussed, not a nice person, and even the banker he was a boss, but he was kind of like he was a banker, and Henry was the only jovial one in the whole in the whole screen.
Everybody else besides Henry was very black and white, plain, nothing much going on. But those glasses, my eye kept going to those glasses, obviously, because they're gigantic and very bubble-like, quite honestly.
Bubbles, yeah.
Bubbles.
Yeah.
That's distinguishing him apart from his peers. And another thing when it comes to everybody that was working in the bank next to him, all they wanted to do was to shove him into this little box that the rest of them seemed to already conform to. And that brings me to a big point with conformity. They didn't like him. They saw him a little bit. They described him as weird and very non-conforming. That's something that really drew my attention. It's
relatable.
Yeah, it's very relatable. No, he's absolutely right.
Well,
go ahead.
I think it's related to a lot of people, a lot of watchers of the Twilight Zone, and just because, hey, it's not how I met everybody met your mother, or whatever the kids are watching these days. It's a kind of an obscure thing, and it's
Whatever
it's
we're
that
watching
whole
these days.
Hold on.
it's that whole
Doc, you just
conformity
made
thing.
a reference to a show that I think stopped like 10 years ago, and you didn't even get the name right. How Everybody Met Your Mother. What's wrong with your mother? Like what? Like is that a your mama joke? Like that's how everybody met your mother. Yeah. What? Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I just got through season 2 of Quincy, so that's what I've been watching. But I love conformity, and I think it might be an homage to just, hey, it's okay to be different. I had that written down. I like this guy, Buck. Set aside.
I know. He's really taking my job right here. That's really good. That was really good. And he just watched it. It's off the top of his head.
Well, and then what did you think about the ending?
The ending. So, I consider the ending to be its own specific section. I consider the ending to start when he finds the books. So when he finds the books, he's extremely happy and giddy in a time when he gets dropped into this Twilight Zone. I don't know what the Twilight Zone actually is, because this is my first time ever watching it. But I bring it to the point of, like you were mentioning earlier, careful what you wish for. Now, he wanted to be alone and separate to, be able to explore this magical world in his mind that these books were creating for him. And he had this happiness, but then everything just gets ripped away from him just like that. And I think that really plays into how, even in life nowadays, I don't know if how it was back in the 50s, but he was in a desolate place with nobody to talk to, nothing to do. He even contemplated killing himself. But then he gets that one ray of hope, and he runs with that for a little while. But that's what ties into the tragedy of this episode, because often in life, I'm making a connection between real life and this episode.
Sure.
Sometimes things don't always work out, and quite honestly, you do get left in that very sad area with things just ripped away from you. And you have to figure out where you're going to go from that point on. And I know that ties into what would happen after. Like Buck said, I would hope he finds a glasses store, but sometimes in life you just don't, and you have to figure it out.
That's exactly right.
Do you need a hug, Nick, or something? Would you like one?
I've needed. Thank you so much.
I feel like so. Yeah, get away. He's gonna push me away. Get my microphone back. He just dropped the mic on me. That was pretty good.
Smells like sardines, Buck. Get away from me.
Wow. That was very good. That was I like that a lot.
You just gave us.
And what an episode! What an episode to watch on your first episode is Time Enough at Last.
Yeah. So Nick, anything else to add, or any questions for Nick, Doc, for you? I'll keep him on for the ratings. He kind of
Yeah, I'd like to get his rating too. This is a couple guys who are a year or two older than Nick here. Look at it through a different lens, so to speak.
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I love getting a different perspective from a different age demographic. And I was on, speaking of which, I was on Reddit, which people from all age brackets.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get into
that. So it's pretty wild. I always thought that Henry was a very sympathetic character. Again, I related to him, and of course, it's Burgess Meredith. I found out that there is a lot of hate for Henry out there in Reddit world. A lot of people called him very selfish. A lot of people called him selfish, that he didn't pay attention to the wife. He was a crappy employee because he gave that lady the wrong change, and he got what he deserved. It surprised me. It really.
I see that angle.
But I can.
It's a double-edged
Someone
sword.
actually said
you got to have some kind of sympathy for the guy. I mean,
yeah,
you do. Someone thought he may have been, and again, wasn't diagnosed in 1959. May have been autistic, and actually had them. The person who made the comment cried because they were so sad that he couldn't do the only thing that he wanted to do. So it's very interesting getting different perspectives from all walks of life.
That is true. You think about it, he probably was autistic when you think about it.
Because he could have been on the spectrum.
He's hyper focused.
Yeah.
He's hyper focused.
Yeah, it's it's really wild. And I mean, and I kind of said I came to the realization that maybe he's not, like I said earlier, he's not 100% pure, but that's an interesting tidbit that I picked up from Reddit.
Does that make him a bad guy, Reddit?
No,
Does that make
no,
him
he
a
doesn't deserve
bad
what he got.
guy?
He doesn't deserve what he got. And
Yeah.
He really
sometimes
doesn't.
people
You
don't
think he
deserve what they
deserved to be
get.
trapped in this
but
desolate place for the rest of eternity just because
Right.
he liked books?
Or
Like,
his
that makes no
wife,
sense.
or how his wife.
The first few episodes that we've seen, for the most part, the bad guys get what they deserve. The good guys get what they deserve. This was one of the first ones that it's like shit happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's real life. But let's get into those ratings.
Well, who are you to judge me?
All right, let's do the ratings.
Let's start with Nick. I'm very
Well, yeah,
interested.
Nick, it's gonna be tough for you because obviously you have nothing to really truly compare it to. So this rating
Right.
could be, but I guess we'll ask you when it comes to a rating. Like you watch this is a TV show that you just watched now.
Yeah.
And you watch, you're a big Marvel movie, Disney shit you watch. And-
No, don't put me in that generation.
But you are.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
what you watch.
When I Met Your Mother.
No, that's before him. God.
What did your mother do before she met me?
Stupid.
That's what-
Is that it? Mork and Mindy? I don't know. I have no idea what kids are watching.
But back to the ratings.
So ratings. So if you rated this as a TV show,
okay,
that you just watched 1 through 10, what would you give it and why?
Okay. 1 through 10. I'm going to start this off by saying that I judge a TV show based off of if I would want to go back and watch another episode, if it pulls me in and if I want more.
Okay.
Especially an anthology. I like that.
If we're putting it in that perspective, then I'm honestly going to give it a good 7.5.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to learn more about this desolate world that he got thrown into. And I want to know if it's just all tragedy that happens to these characters. Does anybody ever get a happy ending? I want to know more about just this universe that Rob Serling has created.
Serling. That's
Jalapeno. Not jalapeno. What the fuck are you guys talking about? What language is that?
Serling.
And
Forgive me.
Roz, R-O-D.
Blasphemy. But get off it. You know what? Give me my bike back. Go.
No, and hey, well, guess you'll just have to watch a couple more episodes.
Yeah.
But that is interesting because now there you hear it. That's kind of why I want to see it. Like somebody really did. Like, do these guys have that? He has no idea. This is I kind of want to watch the evolution of Nick at this point.
So do I. I think it's very interesting. It's cool.
Yeah.
Very unique perspective.
7.5. I think that's a solid rating. I wonder what Doc, you're going to go next. I feel like Doc's going to be around you, by the way. I don't know. By his smile on his face, I feel like he might be.
What? No. Oh, no.
Okay.
All right.
This episode, so iconic. The acting, one of the best acting performances, not only in the first season, but in all 5 seasons. How Rod Serling just, man, I'm giving it a 10. This has everything a good show, specifically a good Twilight Zone, needs to have. That's
This is a good episode for me to start on.
It's good. It is good acting, perfect acting. The direction was fantastic. They did not go over the top with, you knew what was going in the background. You didn't need the big destruction and you saw it was like all the matte paintings in the background. That was done beautifully, I thought. And the score even was excellent. And it was just perfect. I mean, it really was. And I rewatched it again last night. I've probably seen this a dozen times, but I had to watch it again last night. And it's one of those, it's exactly the episode that you see 5 years ago. You love it again in 5 years. We talk about those episodes frequently where if I watched it as a 20-year-old, I didn't like it. But as I was 50-year-old, I love it, and vice versa. This is one of those episodes for me that sticks with me, and it's a 10. Is it my all-time favorite? It's a contender. it's definitely a contender.
This is your first 10, right?
No, I gave Walking Distance a 10.
Oh, okay. All right. So, all right. So a 10 from Doc. Now, I'll say two things. That what I started with is a different score than after both of you actually talked about what it was, and I really started to think about it. So I'll say both because I was gonna go straight 7 here. 7.
Okay.
7. And it was more because I kind of wanted more out of it. I think I was left a little bit like I don't know, thirsty, let's just say.
It could have been an hour-long episode. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see, and I say simple a lot, and I always don't mean it in a mean way. But the ending obviously is a little bit simple, but it was really like the ending kind of was like really cool because it was like, oh,
it was a kick in the teeth. It was such a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, that made me sad.
Yeah,
it made me sad.
I was watching it in the other room, and he heard me go, "Oh, come on!"
I know exactly what
That's
happened.
great. Wow.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna say I would go, but now think about it, like you said, the direction, the acting, and really when I think about it, I'll go solid 8. I'll go solid 8. I'm gonna change mine.
All right, that's respectable.
Yeah, and it's more because I feel like my brain is working forward thinking that I know I like other ones better. And I know this is a classic. And this is
There's a couple classics that I'm not going to give a 10 to, believe me.
Yeah. And this is one of them for me. And it's Burgess Meredith. You know, he gets a couple points no matter what for me.
Well, let me give you a little bit more justification. And I told you I was going to get to this during the fun facts, but I was censored. As I said earlier, Burgess Meredith was in an episode of Mice and Men. Rod Serling's end narration ties it all together so beautifully, and I'm just going to read it to you. The best laid plans of Mice and Men.
Hold on. Can you please read it like Rod Serling? Could you do that for me? Take 2. Come on.
I need to hear this. Come on.
No. I only.
All right, go ahead, read it. Go ahead.
I can do it in Jimmy Stewart's voice. I can't do Rod Serling.
That'll be next week.
The best laid plans of Mice and Men and Henry Bemis. The small man in the glasses who wanted nothing but time. Henry Bemis, now just a part of a smashed landscape, just a piece of the rubble, just a fragment of what man has deeded to himself. Mr. Henry Bemis in the Twilight Zone. So it all comes back to Mice and Men, and that's more justification for my 10. I love that little homage.
It's beautifully written. It's a beautiful story, and yeah, it really.
And I'm not justifying my 10 over your 8 or Nick's 7.
No. It's a beautiful.
I had to say that quote because I loved how it tied that together.
I can't wait for people to be out there and be like, "Oh, 7.5, Nick. Oh, what'd you like better?" They're gonna name some new stupid show. They like the superhero.
When My Mother Met Your Brother.
And they still don't talk.
No.
Well, if
when my mother became my father.
Different strokes. Okay, now we're getting off topic here. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, but there are a few other things that I wanted to bring up. I know you guys.
Oh wow, look at him! He's taking his own.
I'm going to take it over for a second here, but I know you guys love to cast actors as who you would have play these roles.
Okay.
Now there were 2 that I was thinking would go very, very well, and some of the younger people in your audience, if there are any, God forbid, but if there are any in your audience, would understand this one. So Ethan Slater. Now, somebody who has a degree in musical theater, you would know that. If you're in the theater scene, you would know who Ethan Slater is. He played SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical, and he was Bach in the new Wicked movie. But he has that really dopey look to him. I don't know if you can put a picture of him up on here.
Don't worry about that.
It pairs very well with this character. And also, I feel like this one's going to be a little bit controversial, but we have Rowan Atkinson, the guy who played Mr. Bean. I think
that's our demographic. You're
so there was something as far as the symbolism goes that you guys didn't really touch on, and I may be digging a little bit deep here, but it's in your favorite scene when he's ripping out the pages, when she's ripping out the pages of the book. But when he opens it up, you can see all the little lines meticulously written. If it wasn't intentional, it would have been so meticulously blacked out. And that ties back to the whole conformity thing that I was speaking about again. Those black lines are trying to blur out or black out his creative nature and his happiness. If that makes any kind of sense to you guys.
It makes sense.
I think you've earned another episode.
Maybe we'll talk about it. I got to work with this guy. We're backstage like half the time on the weekends together. So
we'll talk about it.
Oh, that was great, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
always good. And yeah, Buck was talking to me about this the other day, and I said that's awesome. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Before we go, just so everybody knows, Nick out there just auditioned for Jake, right? Jake Blues.
Yeah.
Jake. So hit us with a little Soul Man real quick for us.
Oh, come
on now. You're on the spot.
Do it. Time. Come on.
Just do it.
Let's rock at least.
All right. Coming to you from a dusty road. Good loving. I got a truckload. That's all you're going to get for now.
There we go. All right.
You're going to cut that out, right?
Nope. I'm going to use it as the thing. All right. So,
are we supposed to tell people maybe we can invite them to hit the like button if they so choose, or subscribe?
Yeah, and your notifications as well. I did look at our analytics the other day, and our notifications aren't really like, if you want to know, because I am putting things out like all the time, and I don't really have a rhyme or reason right now. So episodes are just popping out. So hit that notification button so you'll know when they come out. So it's a little easier for everybody. That's all I'm saying. It's a little easier because I notice that a lot of people don't have them, and I get, emails and texts like, when's the next one coming out? Like I already did. So
no, those texts are from me because I don't know how to hit the notification button.
This is actually true. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can follow us on other things as well. Doc is on what do you call it, Doc? The Facebook?
X and Reddit. Facebook, yes.
The
Facemail?
Facemail.
Facebook. Yeah, it's bad when when I'm your social media guy, it's bad.
Yes.
But
Doc last week actually
we're hitting X. We hit X pretty hard. We have got a great community out there. All kidding aside, a lot of the guys and gals showed up for our live show. So thanks everybody for that.
Yeah. So keep it up. And for us at the Triple Clowns Network. And just so everybody knows too, Nick possibly and I we're working on something that Nick is a big historian and is into the ghosts and paranormal, and we're going to be doing a little stuff going on with that. Some cool stories in St. Augustine and other places.
St. Augustine, Savannah, Gettysburg, all these different kinds of places. So stay tuned if you want to see anything about that.
Fun stuff.
And Nick will be doing that. And he'll be coming to you on a dusty road. All right. So for us at the Triple Clowns, we'll see you later, everybody.
Give me the ball, Augie. Give me the ball. Bad dog.